Hey, what's up, guys? So the strategy that I talked about in the last meetup, that seems to have taken off. Some people really like that, so I got some homework. Good homework. It's not the busy work homework. It may seem that way, but this is actually going to help you out a lot, build some skills as a trader. And one of those skills is backtesting, which I also talked about. So I want to take a look at how you should go about doing some backtesting. I actually think there's some merit in going through bar by bar and testing a strategy. It gives you a more tactile experience in seeing how price moves, where a computer is just going to output the data. You want to actually get to see things, because when you backtest manually, going through the price action, you will see things. You'll actually start to notice some things, not only about your strategy, but also price action in general and how they work together that can help you improve your strategy, find little tweaks. I picked EOS because that's what we're talking about in the chat today. This is the daily. It's had quite a tear just like everything else. Let's set this up. I'm just going to use the moving averages, just the simple moving averages. You know, we talked about the 20 and the 100. It can be pretty much whatever. We'll keep it consistent. I'm going to use the 20. It's going to be the blue. And then I'm going to use the 100 as my longer term. Let's change that color, make that line a little bit bigger so we can see it. So if we were looking on the daily right here, this probably would have triggered our trade. Here's the cross, right? Yeah, and then we've got a close obviously above it. So at any point here, if you would have bought, it would have fit with the strategy, it would have worked just fine. The last one was here, actually, same thing. Would have come through, and you had the cross, the close below it, would have caught that bearish trend. All good to look back in hindsight and see. But let's actually dig down and spend a little time backtesting this and see how this will actually flow. And we could do the daily, but the problem with a lot of altcoins out there is that there's not that much data. Plus, you know, these trades right here, they're going to be weeks at a time. It's really hard to go through in forward testing and see how your strategy is working on the daily time frame, because it just takes so much time. Any good robust strategy should work on any time frame, on any instrument. Remember that. It should work on anything. We're going to dig down to the 1 hour and we're going to see how this performs. If you go up here, oh, it's not shown on the screen, but right above it, you should see these two little rewind buttons that says bar replay. That's going to bring up this right here, which will let you select the bar that you want to go back to. So you can do like this, and it will go back to that bar. And then what we can do is we can actually click forward and, oh, nope, not that button, excuse me. You can go forward on this button, the forward button, and it will go bar by bar. That way we can catch these setups when they occur. We need more data than what we have here, so let's go back a little ways. Let's scroll all the way back and find a place that we think of. Try not to find the ideal place. Just kind of close your eyes, scroll, and then pick something just out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, actually that's pretty close to the beginning here. We'll go with that. Zoom in just a little bit more here so we can see more. And let's go forward. Forgive the clicking as I click, 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 click. We're getting to watch price. Right now this is pretty bullish, but what we're waiting for, again, is that cross. Oh, you know what I should do? We should lay out our rules, right? So let's lay out our rules for this super simple MA cross confirm. Or if we want to shorten it, we'll just say it's the cross confirm strategy. Not trying to make a brand or trademark here, just giving it a name. So what we want, let me paste these in, is we want to have it where the 20 period crosses over the 100 period, plus we get the bar close above that 20 period. That's a signal to go long. The reverse is true for going short. Those are our basic entry rules. We're going to put our stop order below the last swing high or swing low. That's going to be a high or a low. You'll see it in a couple of bars where that higher low will be. I'll give plenty of examples and we'll look at it. This is going to be a subjective point. Pick what seems to be a good level that price held and use that. Then of course our profit order is just going to be a 3-to-1 reward risk, and we're going to use the tools in TradingView to carve that out. And that's going to be the simplest of these. Now there's one more rule that I want to add in here, and we will come to that at some point. I don't know when it'll be, but I'll show you in just a minute. This is how we would start, and then by the process of backtesting, we may have some little tweaks we want to add in. Alright, so I went ahead and found the next signal here on this 1 hour. So we've got the blue, which is the 20 crossing below the red. The bars are already closed below it, so we need to set up our short trade. So we would just do it right here when that bar closes. Now, where's that high low? This is a good swing high right here. Why do I think that's a good place for it? That's because we can see with our eyes that price basically made a little V here with that high representing where that swing high is. So we want to take our tool, we want to say, okay, there's the high, and we're going to get it just a little bit above that. Give ourselves a good berth, a wide enough berth that if it spikes a little bit or if the spreads get really big, we won't get clipped out, but that gives us a good risk there. Now on this tool that we use, which is on the left hand side, which is going to be the long or the short position, we're going to find our reward risk ratio by using what we have here as our risk. Our stop is up here, and we're going to say, okay, so that's telling us reward risk ratio 1. We need to go down until we get to 3, and that's going to be about there. Okay, so that's what our trade is going to look like. Let's see what happens. So we go forward, go forward, go forward, go forward, go forward, go forward. It's kind of hanging out. Oh, got close to our stop. Ooh, what's it going to do? It's kind of consolidating. It's kind of consolidating. We got to extend this out a little bit because this trade would still be on. And we're stopped out here. Not a big deal, just the first trade. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to mark this like so. We're going to say -1. And I'm going to explain what that denotes in just a moment when we put everything together. Basically, if we look at this as a factor of risk, we lost 1 R. And I'll talk about that in just a minute, how you can evaluate things and strategies and the best way to do that. If we had 1, we would be +3 R. Because before we go too far forward, though, there's something that we should pay attention to. Okay? So we let this trade play all the way out, but if you look closely, we had another signal here on the MA crosses, didn't we? Now, according to our rules, we just had this as our entire strategy for entry, or excuse me, for getting out of the trade. But wouldn't it make sense that we would want to follow signals going in the opposite direction to at least get us out of the trade? I think so. So if we look at this here, there's where it crossed. So on this bar right here, if we had seen that cross right there, we've been following this, then we really should at least exit the trade there. So basically, if we would have exited there on that bar, it's basically a break even. And that makes sense because we would want to enter the other way on this bar as well for a second trade. That's something we should update our rules with. And again, this is something that you would recognize as you're going through and seeing, wait a minute. So when this crossed, I needed to go ahead and be out of that trade. So let's add that to our rule. So we want to say that when you have an opposite crossover, we want to exit the trade. Now we can also enter a new trade in the opposite direction if we want to. So in actuality, we didn't lose 1 on this trade. We probably lost about 0.01. Let's just say 0. Let's just be generous. This is a wash on this one right here, because we got out at about the same price we entered into after it crossed the other way, and then we entered a new one. So let's put that in. Let's choose a long one. Happened on this one right here. Ooh, yeah, this bar right here. Now our swing lows here. Yeah, these are pretty good levels right here. And then let's make this a 3 to 1. Ooh, it almost hit. Oh, it did. We already got that back right there. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll denote this as a 3 because we made 3 times our risk here. And let's move forward to the next one. Alright, I think I found another candidate. This one hasn't quite crossed yet. So let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now let's enter a short position. So it's going to be a good example. So we got this swing high and this swing high right here, this pivot. Okay, these. So which one do we choose? Well, we can be a little more tighter and go with this one right here, or we could go with this big one right here. That's making a very, very wide stop, and we have to be very diligent with our 3 to 1, and that means we've got to ask for a very, 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 very big move to get from here to here. Okay, so let's choose this one right here. I don't know which one's going to be right, but we're going to see if we can do something a little more reasonable. Okay, so that's 3.5. Let's adjust that to a 3. So either way, we've got a pretty wide stop and target here to get our risk reward. Oh, looks like we may not need it. Boom. Okay, so there's our loss. So there's our -1. Let's find the next one. Oh, well, actually, we're going to get one pretty close here. Boom. Okay, so this one just crossed. Let's bring this in, and then let's take a long entry here. Now, where is our swing low here? Well, we've got a little minor one right here, so we'll use that because if we go too wide, that means we have to have that wide target as well. So let's just keep things tight because we're just playing quick moves and go out and make that 3 to 1. 3. Boom. Getting there, boom. All right, cool. We got a 3. 3 times risk. Let's move forward. Good, we got out. That was a nice target. Choppy, 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 choppy. Ooh, oh, look at that. That's an interesting little combination there. We had the cross if you saw it, but we're closed above it, so we gotta wait. Ooh, okay, now we got it closed below it. Cool, let's go short. So swing high is actually right here, so let's set it a little bit above that, and our 3 to 1 brings us down to about right here. Let's see what happens. Dancing around. Give us a little bit of a scare there. Maybe need a little more time on this one. Oh, did we have a cross? Did we have a cross? Ooh, not yet. All right, let's see. Ooh. Well, we got stopped at it anyway, so that's fine. What happened next? Ooh, it crossed above it, but price is actually below it. Interesting. So let's see what happens. Okay, so ooh, we got another short setup here. Let's put this one in. So the cross happened probably on this bar right here. Let's see. 1 over. When did we see that? Normally you can look up here in the top left and it'll tell you where the MAs are, but because of these being such far decimal places, it's kind of hard to see. Let's just be safe and we'll say we'll did on this bar right here. Okay. Now this is kind of a challenging one. Where's that swing high? Ooh, it's all the way up here past this one here. Ooh, that's going to be a very, very big reward risk, but we'll do it. 3. Boom. Ooh, spike. All right, so we're out of that one, -1. That happens. Welcome to trading. Now, these are those things that can really aggravate you if it comes in. A lot of people say, don't trade with emotions, trade with no emotions. This is a really good platitude, but come on. When you're looking at things, you do get caught up in it. I get it. It's like trying to fight yourself. And also, I'm a firm believer that the pattern recognition part of your brain, and it's true, I mean, it's like they do MRIs, and they see that the emotional side of your brain is the one that handles a lot of pattern recognition. So cutting off your emotions, if you were to take, I don't know, some kind of a drug, an antidepressant or something like that totally cuts it out, it, I believe, would affect your trading ability. So you just have to embrace it. Okay, you have to build the tools around it to make sure that this doesn't aggravate you to the point of quitting. Don't quit. That's the main thing. Let's just look back though and see what our results are so far. So we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trades, okay, and we've only made 2 winners. But if we made 3 times risk, 3 times risk, that's a 6-time factor of risk. We've only lost 3. We're still up twice as much as we lost in this short amount of time because we're keeping our risk and reward consistent as well as applying our strategy diligently. Alright, so shortly after this, things are obviously getting pretty volatile. We get close to another setup, boom, right there. Okay, so this will be another long trade. Alright, woo, that's a long way down to this stop right here. This is going to be a very, very wide risk reward. I'm going to have to turn off my auto here just to get it on up there. So let's see. Wow. This is going to be an interesting little discussion topic here in just a moment. So let's think about this logically. You know, this could be an example of a very long-term, big move that you'd be trying to play. And why is that? Why are we having to give such a large stop and having to make this so wide? It's because volatility has come in. If you're going to play something that's ramped up very, very quickly, you got to understand that you have to widen everything out. You need to keep your same relative risk equal, which is very easy to do. As small as you can make denominations of all these cryptocurrencies, your position size is really important. But you also have to consider, what did we do on this last one right here? Let me go back to auto now. So this moved very quickly before we could actually get into it. There was a big, big move, and that's why it had to be so large. You know, the same thing happened with this right here. You know, notice how our wins have been really short and quick trades. It was pretty obvious where our stop needed to be, whereas our losses are actually coming from these that we've had to take a wide berth. So the questions could be asked, should we be trying to avoid these? I'm going to leave that open for you to decide. I want you to think about that a little bit. You should be asking yourself, does this make sense? Like, could I add another rule that would keep me out of these bad trades? Or, you know what, you can keep it simple. There's no wrong answer. But these are things you should think about when you're developing your trading system. So let's see what happens. So far, so good. Let's see. So, oh man, that's volatile. Going all over the place. Let's watch for those MAs to cross. Ooh, they got close there. They got quite close. Boom. Okay, so this is where we need to get out here because we had that cross right there. Right? Okay. So, not bad in terms of how big this is. If we were keeping our risk the same, then this is kind of small, but it is a win. That's going to be a partial win. Let's see what the partial win is. So we use our measuring tool. We basically captured about 155 out of a potential of about 1,500. 0.30 out of 3. Not a loss, small win, but it worked. So we had that thought about wide trades, but within our rule set, we already have a rule that addresses if something crosses over that we can use. So maybe we do, maybe we don't. Maybe we should just continue being like a robot, mechanical in our application of it. So we zoom back in. Because we had the signal, we need to set up a short position on this bar right here. Swing high was up by right here. Make that a 3-to-1. Let's go. And we're out. Give that a -1, and I'm going to jump forward for the sake of time and do a few more. We're going to try to get up to about 10 trades total. Actually, if I was paying better attention, if this was 1 hour, I would have noticed that this actually closed right about here. Excuse me. We had a cross right here and then close above it as well. So there's where we entered another trade. So this actually, we did not lose the full amount. We probably lost a factor of, let's see, maybe about a -1/4 risk. Yeah, because we didn't lose the full 1. Alright, now let me find all those trades going forward. So I went through and did a few more trades, got it up to 12, and that will give us a pretty good data set to go on. Looks something like this over the course of this chart for several days. Actually, this is on a 1-hour chart. This was from the 5th of November 2017 to December 19th. So about 6 weeks. And a total of 12 trades on the 1-hour chart. Now, remember, can't trade 24 hours a day. You got to sleep sometime. Highly recommend sleep. I think most doctors think it's good for you. So, not everything is going to be gettable, but you should be able to catch a few with about the same statistics. Now, I wanted to keep things really simple here. Okay, now in another video, what we'll talk about is using a calculator that looks something like this to figure out what your position sizing would be. This would let you do compounding of your trading capital as your trades go along with wins and losses, but we're going to keep it super simple. Save that for another video. Okay, so right now we're just going to use this R factor, the risk factor. Okay, that'll probably go away in the future, but this keeps everything consistent. For instance, on the scratch, well, don't take that one. On the win, we basically, if we're risking $100 on every trade, $100 worth of whatever, you basically just figure out how much your position size is, $100 of risk. That way it works with anything. If you win 3-to-1, it's going to be 3 times that. If you lose 1 unit of $100, it's going to be -$100, and so on and so forth. When you get down to these fractional ones, they're likewise fractional reward and risk. And at the end of all these trades, this is what your P&L would be. So a couple of things to look at and for you to think about going forward. What if we used a wider target? A lot of these we were using, and every one of them we were using a 3-to-1, but we sometimes gave up a lot of that move in the future. What if we use the 4-to-1? What if we use the 5-to-1? How does that change our results? That's something that you can test. How could we trail our exits? We could look for a certain condition to be met, where in a lot of cases we notice that's the point that price reverses. That's what we can be looking at while we're doing the back testing. These are just 2 things I want you to think about while you go through and do this on your own. So try it, and I look forward to your feedback.